Welcome back to Elgin County Living. Our final stop of the day is Port Burwell, a community that has been patiently waiting for an exciting new resident, the decommissioned HMS Ojibwa submarine.
We're here at our last stop in Port Burwell with Ian Raven of the Elgin Military Museum and Dan McNeil, the project coordinator for Project Ojibwa. So, Ian and Dan, tell us a little bit about the background behind Project Ojibwa.
Well, it all started with us trying to get a tank. And then somebody in DND asked us if we'd wanted a submarine, and that led to a study, and the study led to a report, and that led to a feasibility plan, and that led to a federal grant, and that led to what you see here before you, a submarine that's going to be arriving in September.
And what's the current status of the submarine? Where is it as we speak today?
As we speak at this time, it's in Hamilton. In a shipyard in Hamilton at Heddle Marine Services, where they will be fitting it with the final cradles that it will be resting on here in Port Burwell, as well as doing some shipyardy type work, cleaning tanks and hopefully giving it a nice coat of paint so it looks pretty when it arrives. Great.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on here on site?
At the moment, what you're seeing here is the pile driving. The submarine is exceptionally heavy. For what it is. It's over 1,200 tons, which requires substantial foundations. The foundations will be sitting on these steel pilings, some of which extend down up to 120 feet into the ground to make sure that when we put the submarine here, it doesn't move anywhere else.
Wow, that's fascinating. And beyond the sub being here, you were mentioning that there's also going to be an educational center as well.
Yes, this is going to be our Museum of Naval History, and beside the primary artifact, which will be Ojibwa, we are going to have a 15,000 square foot planned building, which will contain naval historical artifacts that are being sent to us literally from all over the country, chronicling the history of the Navy, which is something that we in Central Canada really don't get to see.
Wonderful. And Dan, earlier you were mentioning a few of the artifacts that will be in the Educational Center. Can you enlighten us a bit on that, please?
Yeah, I would start off by saying I am the first artifact. 36 years in the Navy, and here I am, project coordinator. We're not sure what we're going to get, but the retired naval community is coming forward with artifacts they have collected throughout their careers. And I have visited the main Naval Museum in Halifax to check out their capacity. They have warehouses full of naval history, which they aren't allowed to give away, of course, but museums typically loan to other museums. And at the first discussion about what might be in the Naval Museum, there was concern about loaning to us. What kind of facility were we going to have? Let me assure you, it's going to be a museum quality, properly curated museum. And when I mentioned at the end of the interview with the main Naval Museum that we would have 15,000 square feet, I was asked that, or questioned that maybe that wasn't going to be big enough. So it'll take a few years, but it'll be a proper museum telling the history of the Canadian Navy and what it's done for Canadians.
Wonderful. Now, Dan mentioned, Ian, that it's going to be a few years. Can you walk us through the major milestones of the project?
The major milestones will be the arrival of Ojibwa here in September. Planned landing is the 8th of September. That will be followed by a whole lot of work getting it ready for tours. We hope to be open for limited touring next year in probably the spring of 2013. We will, at the end of the season in 2013, start construction on the main museum building. And we will get the main museum building done for an official opening in 2014, the 100th anniversary of Canada's submarine service.
Now, that's just perfect timing. Now, anybody that's interested in following the project and following the sub from Hamilton down to Port Burwell, is there a way that they can do that?
If you watch our website, either elginmilitarymuseum.ca or projectojibwa.ca, you'll find links to all sorts of things that will show you pictures and keep you up to date on what's happening. It's certainly going to be a busy day here in September. I'm sure the village will be very busy. There'll be lots of interest. It's big. It's very big. You will have seen pictures, and when you actually see it arriving, it's going to be a sight to see.
Wonderful. And how big is it?
Officially, it's 297 feet 6 inches long, which is roughly the length of a football field, more or less. and about 5 stories high from the bottom of the keel to the top of the fin. The main deck, which on submarines is generally referred to as the casing, but will be level with Robinson Street. Even though we're standing in the valley, it will be level with Robinson Street, and the fin, or the conning tower as many people know it, will actually tower up about almost another 3 stories above that.
Fascinating. So it will be something to see when you come down the hill into Port Burwell.
If you miss it, people will question your vision.
I love it. Now, Dan, do you have any closing comments for all of our viewers out there today?
Yeah, this is probably the best thing that's happened in southwestern Ontario for a while. I'm very proud of my association with the Elgin Military Museum, the museum that could. Everybody should know that there was more than a 10-year project to get one of these submarines in Ottawa with the National War Museum. I actually worked on that project. Unfortunately, we would have had to cut one of these submarines into 4 pieces, and it just was not reasonable. So people who question why Port Burwell and why here, why now, the opportunity was there. The Elgin Military Museum took the opportunity, and this is going to be a huge regional asset, and I'm so proud.
Great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out to spend with us today. And Catherine, guaranteed we'll be there September 8th for the arrival of the sub.
Thanks, Kate. The Ojibwa is expected to reach Port Burwell on September 8th, so mark your calendars and come out and share this piece of history. Let's take a short break, and then we'll be right back on Elgin County Living.